15.
Go there.
Hey guys, Dr. Joe here. Glad to be with us today. If you're first time joining us, welcome. So the way this works, if you're just joining us, I'm going to talk for 24 minutes. I record this, and of course this becomes a podcast, and this becomes radio content. So I talk for 24 minutes. You, whatever platform you're on, can ask any questions you have on healthcare. Garrett and John are my producers today. They'll be reading me the questions at the 24-minute spot. I'll answer your healthcare questions if I know the answer. And then we'll do another 24 minutes, and then we'll do another question and answer session. So it's a great opportunity for you guys to get some questions answered. If you're listening live, you got to do me a favor. I want you to put in hashtag live, the hashtag, and then just write live next to it. And if you're listening on a replay, put in hashtag replay. And if you'd like, you can also put in where you're listening from, because that's always fun to know. Because as the show grows, and we're growing like crazy, we're getting more and more followers all around the world, and it's kind of neat. I kind of enjoy that. It's kind of fun. So I am just about ready, gentlemen. Let's wait a second. Okay. All right, I guess we're ready to go. So let's do my clock. We've got a big clock behind the camera there, so I gotta make sure I get it right to the second. Okay, ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am very happy that you're with us today. What we're going to talk about today are maybe we're going to come across the reason why you have headaches and neck pain. Because so many patients have headaches. Raise your hands if you have headaches. Raise your hands. A lot of you do. I know you do. Now, a lot of people have headaches, and they don't know what to do about it. So the one treatment that they do is they'll take medication, of course, which if I have a headache, I want to take medication. I want to get rid of it, of course. But we're finding all sorts of problems with the medication, like ibuprofen. We know it can affect the liver. It can even contribute to erectile dysfunction. With new studies out showing that it can ibuprofen users can have erectile issues and sexual issues on women's part too. So I'm not against getting out of pain. Believe me, I'm board certified in pain management, and the main treatment that we teach in pain management is injections and drugs. However, I don't want to go that route. I want to try to get to the cause of your problems and not just treat the symptoms. Very different approach in healthcare, getting to the cause and not treating the symptoms. So if you have headaches and neck pain, let's dig in. We got a lot to cover here. Hunger can be an issue. And this is not uncommon. I see this a lot. People say, I have a headache, I don't want to eat, and then they don't eat, and then they get a headache. So eating certain foods can trigger migraines and headaches as well. Even things like beans or nuts might be an issue. Avocados, bananas, cheese, chocolate, citrus, herring, dairy products, onions, processed foods with nitrates, yellow dyes, monosodium glutamate. So what I want you to do if you're a headache sufferer, neck pain sufferer, or any type of pain sufferer, is you can go to my website, drjoe.com, and download something called a diet diary. It's under patient forms. If you look across the top, it has little tabs, and you'll see one to click on. It says patient forms. Print it up. It's free. I don't know you're printing it or not. I have no idea. And what you can do is, if you're a pain sufferer, write down everything you eat. When I say everything, I mean everything. If you have a candy, if you have a piece of gum, if you have a sip of soda, because you might be surprised what's triggering your headaches. Artificial sweetener. One of the number one side effects is headaches. Monosodium glutamate. Well, gosh, doc, I don't have headaches until I eat processed foods. Well, processed food is monosodium glutamate. Monosodium glutamate has over 40 different names. Autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, even the word natural flavor could be monosodium glutamate. So when you write down everything you eat and then you start tracking your pattern, you start to find out where your triggers are. I have triggers. One of my triggers, surprisingly, is fermented foods, pickles, kimchi. If I eat fermented foods, kombucha, I get a headache. Alcohol, I don't do alcohol, but in the days when I did alcohol, it gave me headaches. Dairy products, I remember being a kid, and if I eat milk chocolate, I get a blazing headache. Any type of dairy, got a headache, couldn't figure out why. So I had to grow up and realize that I needed to do a diet diary to chart what my food triggers are. You can do that too. It's real easy, it's free. And see if you can find out where your problems are. You might even notice, when we talk about this in a second, dehydration. You can say, well, gosh, I had 8 glasses of water that day. I didn't get a headache. I had no glasses of water that day. I did get a headache. So now you can be your own detective and try to get to the cause of it. You know, we talked about alcohol. Even just a few ounces of red wine could give you a headache. Some people, any type of alcohol. For me, for example, I can't do any alcohol. I'll tell you a story. I was driving to give a lecture one time in Tennessee, and it's probably 15, 20 years ago, and I saw a sign that said a distillery. I won't say what brand, but you know what it is. It's Tennessee. And I said, oh, I want to go to the distillery. I want to see what it's like. And I had time. So I drove. It's quite a ways off the road. And I got there. And ironically, it's in a dry county, which is funny. You can't even buy the alcohol that they make there. And they take you for a tour. And it was just something to do. It was fun. And they come to the big vats of mash, the things that fermenting, the corn, I think it was corn mash. And they lifted it up and said you could smell it. So they lifted it up. I took a big whiff. And whew, I felt like I was drunk. And I started getting a headache. So I'm super sensitive to alcohol, which is fermented as well. And you might be too. So just start charting what you're doing and you'll be amazed. And then it can be environmental factors that can cause you problems. Bright lights, smoke, humidity, intense scents. I hate going into places that have bathroom scents and those stores that have commercial shampoos and room fresheners. I hate it. I don't even like walking into a department store if you have to walk through the perfume department. So anything like that. Cold weather can trigger headaches as well. Low pressure systems. What happens is in a low pressure system, I used to date a meteorologist, so I learned a lot about low pressure systems. When there's high pressure, there's a lot of air molecules around us. And so if you imagine a lot of air molecules, and it kind of pushes the clouds away. Low pressure is when there's not a lot of air molecules, and that's when the rain falls. And when you're in a low pressure system, you have pressure inside your body. And the pressure on the outside of your body is pushing in, and the pressure on the inside of your body is pushing out. And we're balanced. That's why we don't explode. But we go into a low pressure system, there's less air molecules around you. So your body actually expands. And that's why people can say, well, Doc, I know when it's going to rain. My knee hurts, my hip hurts, I got a headache. So low pressure can do it as well. So when you're keeping your diary of what's causing the pain, food, perfumes, hairsprays, water intake, and then the weather. People get, rainy days and Mondays. Okay, get me down. So Karen Carpenter was talking about, well, that's a time to be depressed. Well, it could be because low pressure system can actually make us swell. Our bodies can swell, and that can lead to sometimes depression. So think about weather environment as well. What's going on, and is that related to your headaches? And again, all these things have answers to them. So that's the good news about it. Other things that might cause your headaches, hormone changes. Changes in estrogen level can cause migraines. Women suffer from migraines more often than men. Menstrual cycles can be tied to migraines in younger women, and you'll see that happen many times. Girl gets her menstrual cycle, and bam, she gets a headache. Varying estrogen levels during perimenopause can sometimes start migraines in women who never experienced them before. So here's women who never had a problem, and now suddenly they're coming to the point in their life where they're starting to go through the change of life, and they start getting headaches. So hormones are a big player in so many different things. And hormones are messengers. They're signals. And so my body produces testosterone, let's say. So testosterone goes to my muscles and says, okay, build muscle mass. Goes to my reproductive organ, says, okay, produce reproductive function. And so hormones, you need a little bit to actually get in there and change how the body responds. Now, you can have outside hormones called exogenous hormones. And that could come from prescription. Doctor can prescribe testosterone, estrogen. But there are also chemicals in the environment that can act like estrogen. They're called xenoestrogens. Xeno meaning foreigner. So it's foreign estrogens. And that can come from plastics. Gosh, I microwave my dinner every night and I get a headache every night. Well, when you're microwaving the dinner, you're releasing a little bit of plastic into the food, and that plastic, that xenoestrogen, is getting into the body, and that can throw off your hormone levels. Not a fan of microwaves, by the way. If you don't know that, I would never use a microwave for food. Certainly never for food. Now, if you have to heat up a hot pack or something like that, that's okay. You can take your sponge. I go on a tangent here. Take your sponge and put it in the microwave every night. Don't use metal in the sponge, of course. And just maybe for a minute. And the microwaves can kill the viruses, germs, and bacteria. When you're running your microwave, walk away. Get far away from it because it's emitting radiation. And never try to repair a microwave because they can store up a lot of energy. And you think, oh, I'm going to unplug it and work on it. Don't do that. They're not designed for that. Okay, anyway, I digress. So estrogen levels can cause a problem with migraines as well. So as you're charting it, ladies, yes, you know what, I was on my menstrual cycle and I got my headache, or I'm perimenopausal, I got the headache. So what we're trying to do is get to the cause of it. Now, the most common cause of headaches, that's what you really want, right? The most common cause. The most common cause of headaches is pinched nerves in the neck. I've been in practice coming up on 40 years now. I have seen thousands and thousands and thousands of patients with headaches. And major majority of them have pinched nerves in the neck. And when you pinch a nerve in the neck, you might have headaches, neck pain, shoulder pain, arm pain, blurred vision, dizziness, loss of memory, fatigue, ringing of the ear, sinus congestion. So that's where chiropractic comes in. Chiropractic is the most effective, least expensive treatment for spine pain issues. So if you have headaches, I would certainly say, yes, let's you start doing your charting to see what's triggering it. But many times when you get chiropractic care, quality chiropractic care, and get the bones put back in place, those triggers become less and sometimes non-existent. So many times the nerve is just so, I don't know, hot, hyper, if you would, that when something comes along like monosodium glutamate or aspartame, artificial sweetener, bam, it triggers a headache. Once you take the stress off the nerve and it calms down, many times we don't have to worry about that, which is kind of cool. So again, number one treatment for pain is chiropractic care. And if you'd love to come see us, we'd love to have you as a patient. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. If you're not in the Atlanta area, we can always do a phone consultation. Can't adjust you over the phone consultation or a Zoom call. But I can certainly coach you on certain things, sleep patterns, how to hold your head. I can look at your posture and do an analysis. So drjoe.com is the place where you want to make appointments. So neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, headaches, numbness, tingling. If you're ever in a car accident, please come see us right away. Stop wasting time and stop suffering needlessly. Biggest complaint I get by far is what? Why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I wait so long to get in here and I suffered all those years? All that wasted time. And Barry Manilow's song, all the wasted time. And all that time was wasted because it was a pinched nerve. And there's not a drug and there's not a food and there's nothing in the world that can put a bone back in place except somebody who's trained to do it. And that's what chiropractors are. They're trained to put bones back in place. So make an appointment, drjoe.com. Normally the first visit is $940. For my listeners, I've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment. On the second visit, going over the x-rays and a complete nutrition evaluation. So if you have pain, folks, come see us. We can get you in this week. Whenever you listen to the show, this week, we always have appointments available for new patients. drjoe.com, book it online, call us. We want to get you in as soon as possible. So we're talking about things that you can look for headaches and neck pain, but those are things you can't do yourself. You need to come see us for that. Caffeine withdrawal is a biggie. When I wrote my first book called Eating Right for the Health of It, when I wrote the book, I have a chapter in there called Kicking the Habit. And coffee is one of my 7 deadly sins of nutrition: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. And if you can't give them all up, at least start cutting back. Make some positive changes in your life, because I think you're going to be very happy when you start regaining your health. Very few people aren't happy when they regain their health. In fact, I've never known anyone who wasn't. But what happens is any type of caffeine, coffee, tea, chocolates, that if you stop taking it, that can cause triggering headaches, because the caffeine causes blood vessels to constrict, and without caffeine, the blood vessels widen, and that can cause that pounding headache. So what you want to do, if you have that problem, gosh, I can't go a day without my caffeine, I get a headache, do this. Get yourself a cup of black organic coffee. Make sure it's organic, not decaf, regular. If you're going to drink coffee, I say drink organic decaf. But for this case, regular coffee, and take 2 tablespoons every hour. Just 2 tablespoons. No sugar, no cream, no whipping on top, no sprinkles. And that's going to give you just enough caffeine to try to come off the caffeine, the headaches. Because what happens is there's a chemical in your brain that's called adenosine. And adenosine is released in your brain, and it gets absorbed in a place called an adenosine receptor site. And when you absorb the adenosine, your body gets tired. Body says, ooh, adenosine's here. It's time for me to shut down and rest so I can heal. Well, caffeine looks like adenosine. So caffeine gets into the brain and blocks up the adenosine receptor sites. So now you don't absorb as much adenosine, so you don't get as tired. So caffeine can stimulate your nervous system, but the way caffeine's mechanism works in the brain is that it prevents you from getting tired. It doesn't give you energy, it just prevents you from getting tired. And so when you stop that caffeine cold turkey, the brain changes its physical structure when you drink caffeine. It has to kind of reboot itself. So if you're taking 2 tablespoons an hour, That's just enough caffeine to kind of work with the adenosine receptor sites and get them to start to close up and heal, so you don't have as many adenosine receptor sites. That's why if you drink coffee, maybe it was a half a cup that used to give you a boost. Then it was a cup, then it's 2 cups, then 3 cups. I had one case one time, I mean, I've seen cases up to 18, 20 cups of coffee a day. I mean, I think you're just in the bathroom all day if you're doing that. But the brain changes its structure that it needs more and more and more stimulation. So that's how the brain is affected by caffeine, and you have to get the brain to heal. So if you give up the coffee cold turkey, bam, you get a headache, I got to go back to my coffee. It's just a never-ending cycle. Now you have the tools to start coming off the caffeine slowly. Most people that I've dealt with takes about 4 days to do this. So it's not a big deal. It's not going to last forever. And just in a couple of days, you can come off it. Because the caffeine is dangerous. The coffee is an acid. It robs the body of calcium to neutralize the acid. It's very highly sprayed with pesticides and other chemicals, fungicides. And so I'm not a big fan. And it's a diuretic. Makes you pee, makes you poop. It cleans out your body, but you can flush out nutrients at the same time. So that's why I'm not a big fan of coffee. If you're doing it strictly for the high, well, then you want to come off it and not get the headaches. If you're doing it because you like something warm in your hand, well, Dr. Joe, I just like having something warm in the morning. Great, switch to tea. Not black tea, herbal teas. And pick which one you like. There's licorice tea, there's cherry tea, there's peach teas, there's slippery elm tea. It's good for your throat. There's so many different types of teas. So try those caffeine-free teas and see how you do. Peppermint tea is nice. If you want to sweeten it a little bit, throw a little stevia, lohan in there, allulose. Those are natural sweeteners that won't spike your blood sugar, but also aren't toxic like artificial sweeteners are. So there's a lot of things we can do on that. And if you are drinking coffee, make sure you're drinking for every cup of coffee, three glasses of water. Because coffee is a diuretic, stimulates the bowels as well. It's a laxative, and you're passing out a lot of fluids. So if you're going to drink coffee, organic only, organic decaf is the best, and make sure you're doing lots of water with it. Because you will have adverse side effects from it, I guarantee you. You may not realize it now, but it's happening. 5-10 years from now, when it kicks in and you see the problems, you'll remember today, and you'll say, Dr. Joe was right. And I hear that all day, every day. Dr. Joe was right. In fact, for a while, when I was doing some podcasts and radio shows, I had a Dr. Joe was right list. All the things that I talked about years ago that's now come to fruition. One of them was margarine. I remember talking years ago to my mom, and I talked about margarine and how dangerous it is. And I feel that it's going to be one of the major causes of heart disease. And a couple of months later, there was a report on CNN, and it said, margarine, #1 cause of heart disease in the United States. And my mother called me up, and she said, I'm not sure if you're a nut or a prophet. I can't quite figure it out yet. And I said, probably a little bit of both, Mom. So, yeah, so the things we talk about today become mainstream later on. In fact, just about every week, Garrett, one of my producers, will say, oh, did you read the article on blah, blah, blah? You talked about this 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So you're way ahead of the curve. And for some of you, you don't want to not jump on this bandwagon. It may be too late. That's why I want to get you on these things. So we're talking today about headaches and neck pain. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, and some of the causes that might be triggering it. Again, I want to get to the cause of your healthcare problem, not just treat the symptoms, whether it's neck pain, back pain, digestive issues, sciatica. Tension in your neck and shoulders. How about this? Do you hunch over your computer every day? Do you hunch over your phone every day? Do you slouch when you're sitting on a couch? Do you have a lot of pillows in your bed when you watch TV or read a book? All these things can put tension on your neck and on your jaw. A lot of times I find headaches with people that have TMJ. TMJ stands for temporomandibular joint. That's your joint in your jaw. So if you have pain right in front of your ear, it's called the tragus of your ear. In front of the ear there, that's where your TMJ is. And if you have pain there, if it pops when you chew, that's some pretty serious issues. And you don't want to play around with that. Because if the TMJ wears out, you don't want to have that happen. Because I've seen videos of the surgeries, and they have to strap people down because there's so many nerve endings in the jaw. And they have to strap people down, and they're screaming like they're being murdered, even though they're totally under anesthesia in some cases. That's how painful the TMJ is to have it worked on. Now, if it's just starting, chiropractic care is a really simple fix in many cases to put the jaw back in place. So if you're hunched over all day, you have a popping jaw, you have pain shooting down across your jaw, come see us. Let's fix the structure, because one of the missing links in healthcare is structure. Structure affects function. If you're an engineer, you just got what I said and the light bulb went on. Structure affects function. How things are lined up determines how they work. If the tires on your car are lined up properly, they work right. If they're out of alignment, they don't work properly. So if you have structural issues with your neck, your mid-back, your skull, your jaw, your shoulder, that's going to cause problems elsewhere. And that's the basis of natural health care, chiropractic care, realigning everything. And you can do supplements, and I'm a huge fan of supplements, and you can do dietary changes, and I'm a huge fan of dietary changes. But if you have structural issues, that has to be physically fixed. It's not a chemical problem. And in medicine, oftentimes we treat things chemically when the problem is physical. I can't change the oil in my car and expect the tires to realign. You got to take it physically. So, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the reasons why you might be having a headache. How about romance? You might have a dull headache or neck pain. It worsens after getting romantic. Now, that could be a throbbing headache that arrives right as you conclude your event. It might be a pinched nerve in your neck. Again, you might consider chiropractic. Another reason why you might have sinus problems and headaches and neck pain is sinus problems. Simple cold or flu can inflame the hollow areas behind your cheekbones and your forehead. Those are called the sinuses. So what I want you to do is this, and I want you to do it starting right now. Everybody, whether you have headaches or neck pain or not. I want you to give up all wheat and all dairy products for 1 week. No wheat, no dairy. Not a bite, not a nibble, not a sip, nothing. No wheat, no dairy, 1 week. See how you feel. If you feel better, you're breathing better, your gas and bloating goes away, you're digesting your food better, your brain fog clears up, I was right. If I'm wrong, so what? I'm wrong. You gave up wheat and dairy for a week. It didn't cost you anything. It was free. But I am right. Because we don't have the enzymes to break down like the gluten that's found in wheat. We don't have the enzymes to break down casein. It's a protein found in dairy. We don't have the enzymes to break down lactose, which is a sugar found in dairy. We just don't have the enzymes to properly break these things down. And so you just can't do it. Now, some people say, well, Dr. Joe, I've been eating dairy all my life and I don't have any problems. Well, this is your norm. Once you give up the wheat and the dairy, you go to a different norm, which is pretty exciting. So watch what happens. Again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? But when you have a headache, what's the one thing you want? Relief. And how many of you have said this? I will do anything to get rid of these headaches. How many people have said that? Or your back pain, or your neck pain, or your sciatica. I would do anything to get rid of it. I'm giving you things that you can do. But again, chiropractic care is the most effective, least expensive treatment for the whole process, getting to the cause. All right, some other reasons you might have headaches and neck pain. How about a head injury? Head injuries are extremely common. Now, I see this a lot with car accidents. What happens is in a car accident, you have a seatbelt that holds your body, but nothing holds your head. So when you get hit, front, side, back, it doesn't matter, your head snaps around. And when your head snaps around, it can affect your brain because your brain is floating around in your head. It's anchored, but it's in fluid called cerebrospinal fluid. So let's assume I get hit from the rear. Seatbelt holds my body, my head snaps backwards. As my head snaps backwards, my brain goes forward. Because again, the skull goes backwards, but the brain is floating in fluid, and it slams into the front of my skull. Then my head snaps forward, and my brain slams into the back of my skull. It's called a contre-coup injury. Contre-coup means back and forth. I believe it's French. And it means back and forth. And so my head goes back and forth, my brain slams into my skull, I bruise my brain. It's called a traumatic brain injury. Now, you can have a mild traumatic brain injury. That's not a good name for it because mild can be very serious. I personally have had a severe traumatic brain injury. I was hit by a car when I was 10 years old and I was dead. They thought I was dead. They covered me up on the side of the road. So I wasn't, by the way, just so you know. But traumatic brain injuries, they really need special attention and special dietary protocols. So I'm going to have to take a break. When I come back, I want to finish this because this is really important. A lot of you have had traumatic brain injuries, never got over it, and never realized that's the cause of your problem. If you have any questions, you can send them to me through my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. If you're a podcast junkie, go to your podcast service and type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. But the main thing you can do is go to my website, drjoe.com, book an appointment to come see us. We can do a personal or we can do a virtual. We want to get to the cause of your problem. Next up, I'm going to talk about supplements that might help, and there's a lot of them that actually can help. Follow us on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito, at Dr. Joe Esposito. We post health tips every single day. It's absolutely free. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Again, my website with any questions or make an appointment, drjoe.com. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Okay. We done good? Any questions for me?
I am a 71-year-old female and I sleep on my side. Can you recommend a good pillow for me?
We have some really good pillows. Are they on the website? The pillows on the website? Okay. If you're in the Atlanta area, come to my office. Is Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, or West Cobb. We have special cervical pillows, they're called. And the reason I say that is I want to test you for it. There's actually ways to test to see if the pillow is good for you. So I can tell you to go out and buy it, but I don't know. And we got to find out what's going to be right for you. So that's why we like to test out patients specifically. So if you're in the Atlanta area, come on by. Just let us know, and we'll get you fitted, so to speak, for the proper pillow.
The other point would be, are you using your pillow correctly?
Yes, that's a good point, too. When you say you sleep on your side, do you have your arm up underneath you? Is the arm under your head? Is it underneath you? Are you curling it up? Is it too thick? Is it too thin? So it's really it's not a cut and dry answer because everybody's a little different. So, yeah. What else you got?
I've heard that methylation or methylated supplements are better than regular supplements. Is that true?
Yes. And the reason is about 30% of people don't have the ability to do proper methylization, if that's the right word. When you create the methyl groups, what you're doing is, let me explain this. Everything you eat, all the supplements you take, unless they're in a methyl form, cannot be utilized. Your body has to convert it into something else. And a good example might be crude oil. If you have crude oil, you can't put that in your car. You have to process it into gasoline. So when you put food in your body has to process it into fuel that it can use. So the process of methylation is converting that into something that's usable. And so like methylcobalamin is better than cyanocobalamin. Cobalamin is vitamin B12. The methyl group makes it more usable. Cyanocobalamin, cyano is cyanide. It's cheaper than methyl, but I'm not a fan because it's a molecule of cyanide. So yes, if you can do the methyl process and you can do it in your body, that's great. About 30% of people can't. You can do a DNA test for it. We don't do it in our office, but you can do a genetic test to see if you have the gene that prevents you from properly doing adding the methyl groups. So the answer is yes. That's a quick answer for a long babble there. What else you got?
Are skin moisturizers okay?
Depends what they are. A lot of them have chemicals and dyes and things that clog up your pores and can actually alter your hormones. They have something called endocrine disrupting chemicals in them. Phthalates are one of them. Parfum is another one. So if you're going to do a skin moisturizer, I'm going to recommend you do something really simple like coconut oil. Just rub coconut oil on your skin. Some people recommend castor oil. The jury's out on castor oil. I don't have a problem with it. There are some people that do. But if you're eating a good diet, chances are you're not going to have to add oil to your skin. I take Dr. Joe's omega-3 fatty acids every day for many reasons. One of them, my skin. And at my age, I don't have wrinkles and I don't have blemishes. And people are like, well, what do you do? Why do you look so young? In fact, I was at a football game 2 nights ago. And I went to a tailgate party with my friend Shelly Winter, and a bunch of people were there. And I try to keep low-key when I'm socializing, but a lot of people recognize my voice. And a guy came up to me. He says, "Hey, Doc, man, it's so good to meet you. Man, you look so young. I was expecting somebody a lot older." And I told him how old I was. And he says, "My God, you're older than me." And this guy was pretty wrinkled and gray and looked terrible. And he said, "What's your secret?" I said, "Do what I say." It really works. So I take omega-3 fatty acids every day. You should too, because you need them for many, many reasons, including skin. But something as good as extra virgin organic coconut oil, if you want to use that, I'm fine with that. So.
What is a healthy alternative to butter or margarine?
The only oils you should have in your life are extra virgin organic coconut oil, extra virgin organic olive oil, and avocado oils. Those are the only 3 oils you'll ever need in your life. So if it's not one of those, chances are it's not a good oil. And even olive oil, about 80% of olive oil is fake. So what you do is when you buy your olive oil, put it in the refrigerator, and if it gets cloudy, then it's a good olive oil overnight. If it doesn't get cloudy, it's probably a cheap mixed blend of soybean oils or something like that. And also olive oil smells like olives. It has that really rich aroma to it. So if you smell your oil, it doesn't smell like anything, chances are you got a counterfeit. So, what else?
How do you feel about sheep milk cheese?
Not a fan. Not a fan of any animal products, actually, because we don't have the ability to break it down. So if you're going to do dairy, sheep and goat milk is closer to human milk. I still would not recommend it. But that's your call. What else you got?
That's all for now.
All right, cool. Ready for part 2? All right, here we go. Let me get myself situated here. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. Thanks for being here. If you're just joining us, welcome. If you stayed with me, I'm glad you did. So what we're talking about today are reasons why you might have headache and neck pain. And we were talking earlier about something called a traumatic brain injury, a TBI. TBI stands for traumatic brain injury. And even a mild blow to your head can cause a TBI. And we talked about a car accident where the seatbelt holds your body but nothing holds your head. And your head snaps around and your brain slams into your skull because it's floating in fluid, and it can bruise the brain, essentially, put it simple. And that requires special attention and special dietary needs. So if you have a TBI, traumatic brain injury, your body releases something called glutamate. I'm certified in traumatic brain injuries, by the way. Your body releases glutamate. And glutamate, glutamic acid, monosodium glutamate, is an irritant to the cell. It gets into the cell and it causes the cell to act overexcited, simply put. And so you are now suffering with headaches, and anything with extra monosodium glutamate in it could trigger your headaches. So, of course, monosodium glutamate, autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, broths, even if it's a vegetarian broth. If you see autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, yeast extract, nutritional yeast, these are all things that can trigger it. Even something like mushrooms. Anything savory, mushrooms, tomatoes, they have glutamate in it. So that's why I said earlier, if you're just joining us, I want you to write down everything you eat. Everything. You go to my website, drjoe.com, and you could print up a form. It's under patient forms, and it's called a diet diary. It's absolutely free. Print it up. I'll never know you have it. And just start writing down everything you eat, everything you drink, and see if you can find a pattern. And I'm happy to go over it with you if you want me to. But in most cases, we see a pattern very quickly, and we know what's causing the headaches. And so it could be a chemical issue, could be a physical issue. In most cases, in fact, I can say every case I've ever seen, it's both. You need to get the bones put back in place, and you need to stop doing the things that stimulate the headache. Like for me, it's fermented foods. I said pickles, kimchi, sauerkraut, bam, I get a headache. Alcohol, bam, I get a headache. So I got to be careful about fermented foods. I got to be careful about monosodium glutamate. I got to be careful about caffeine. Those are 3 things that will definitely trigger a headache in me. So if you're ever in a car accident, slip and fall, sports injury, and you have a headache, confusion, lightheadedness, dizziness, blurred vision, ringing in the ears, tiredness, bad taste in your mouth even, a change in your sleep habits, behavior or mood changes, too happy, too sad, something that isn't normal for you, a problem with memory, concentration, attention, loss of consciousness, even a few seconds, that is absolutely positively definitive of a traumatic brain injury. Sensitivity to light or sound, nausea and vomiting. If you have any of these symptoms, come see us or a chiropractor or a nerve specialist right away. Because the longer there's damage to the brain and the nervous system, the harder it is to fix. Now, we talked earlier about, your diet is so key when it comes to headaches and neck pain, and you got to do some sleuthing for me and try to find out where it's coming from. But I know, mushrooms can trigger it. And people say, I love mushrooms, Dr. Joe. Onions. I love onions. I understand that. But if we can find out what your triggers are, then hopefully we can fix the cause of the headaches. Pinched nerve, dehydration, traumatic brain injury, try to calm it down. Magnesium works real well for traumatic brain injuries. And then we hopefully can expose you to these things again, and you won't have that super excited response, that super hyper sensitivity that people have where, gosh, mushrooms do it? Yeah, it could be. So that's why you need to write it down. So if you're just tuning in, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. What we're talking about today are reasons you might have headaches and neck pain. And we said earlier, if you're just tuning in, the number one cause by far of headache and neck pain is pinched nerves in the neck. And it's usually the atlas, the top bone in your neck. Now, the atlas holds up your skull. That's what, like Atlas held up the world, the mythological being. Well, your atlas holds up your skull. And so if that atlas shifts out of place, there's a lot of nerve endings there. Your brainstem comes down through the atlas. Now, what's the brainstem? You have your brain. Imagine it's like a, ball. And it kind of funnels down into your spinal cord. If you've ever seen pictures of it, you know what I'm talking about. And where the transition is from the brain to the spinal cord is called the brain stem. And the brain stem comes down to your third cervical vertebrae. So it goes down about 3 bones when you're alive. In cadavers, it dries up and contracts. So you have to look at a live specimen if you want to see it, but I'm saying don't cut anybody's neck open. And you can see the atlas is actually surrounding the brainstem. So if the atlas moves out of place, you can put pressure on your brainstem, and that can affect so many different things. It can cause digestive problems. It can cause erectile dysfunction. It can cause numbness in your foot because the brain is coming down or funneling down at that point and can be a big issue. And that's where chiropractic care comes in and puts it back in place. In fact, most seizure patients I've ever seen, if you put the atlas back in place, it has a very positive effect on the seizures. And then you look at monosodium glutamate, artificial sweetener, which are excitotoxins to the brain. That can trigger seizures as well. So we do a nutrition evaluation, but then we also do a physical evaluation. We want to find out where the pain is coming from. And in most cases, we get great results. In fact, I've even worked with dogs that have, epileptics. And we adjust the dog, and suddenly not epileptic anymore. And the owners think that we did voodoo on them or something. I said, no, you just took the pressure off the brainstem. So that's how the nervous system works. Whether it's a dog or a cow or a horse or a human, the nervous system controls everything. And if you have pinched nerves on it, you've got to get it fixed. If you're irritating it with chemicals, stop doing it. It's pretty simple. So if just tuning in again, we're talking about causes of headaches and neck pain and other reasons that it might be. Now, one of the things, in fact, I work with somebody at my radio station, and he has to take ibuprofen every day. Because if he doesn't take it, he gets what's called a rebound headache. So common over-the-counter medications like aspirin, ibuprofen, acetaminophen can cause headaches if you use them more than 15 days a month. That's the official statistics on it. You might be more sensitive than that. So if you take it every other day, when you stop taking it, you might have a headache. Just like caffeine, you go through a withdrawal. Prescription opioids or drugs with caffeine can do it in just 10 days. Aspirin oftentimes has a caffeine in it. So you come off your aspirin, you start getting headaches. It just only takes about 10 days then. People get migraines are more likely to have this problem. Now, if you're on a medication and one of the side effects is headaches, look it up. Go online, look up side effects of my medication. And if one of the side effects is headaches, go to your doctor, not me, go to your doctor who prescribed it and say, listen, one of the side effects of this birth control pill, whatever it is headaches. Can you put me on a different form of this medication that doesn't have headaches as a side effect? In many cases, the answer is yes. But we don't know somebody's going to have a reaction to a drug until we give them the drug. That's why if you ever see the commercials, I always have to laugh, Don't take, drug A if you're allergic to drug A. Well, how do I know I'm allergic to drug A if I don't take it? Just covering their fannies. So there are medications that have different side effects that do the same thing, but the side effects are different. So you might want to consider that. Another reason people get headaches is you just worked out. When I played football, if I got overheated, and that's one of the things that can cause headaches, I would get a blazing headache. Now, at the time, I was 10 years old when I had my traumatic brain injury. I never correlated my headaches with my traumatic brain injury because I was healed from that. I was done. I survived. I lived. I'm done. I never put it all together. And I regret in my life that I played contact sports, hockey and football. Loved it, enjoyed it, but I regret doing it now because it aggravated my traumatic brain injury. I'm sure it did. So if you just work out, running, swimming, weightlifting can bring it on. Usually nothing to worry about as far as being deadly, but I'm going to talk about in a second too when to go to an emergency room when you have a headache. There are certain times where it's not a chiropractic case, it's not a nutrition case, it's not a drink ginger tea case, it's a get to the emergency room right away case. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So if you have the headaches and it becomes blinding pain, worst headache you've ever had, get medical attention right away. I'd rather you be wrong than to have serious damage. So you can get to the emergency room. And most traumatic brain injuries, by the way, are not picked up in the emergency room. The doctors in the emergency room are very busy, and I'm not knocking them. They're not trained in neurology many times. And so their job is to make sure you're alive, make sure you survived, and then make sure you're okay to go out. They refer you out to somebody else. So TBI, traumatic brain injuries, are so often missed. And it's never put on a diagnosis. And then, you come up years later, I still get headaches. It only happened right after my car accident. It probably is a TBI. So we're talking today about why your headache hurts, why your neck and headaches hurt, and things you can do about it. If you have the wrong pillow, that can give you a headache because it puts your body in the wrong posture all night. So if you toss and turn, lack of sleep can lead to pounding in the head. Look for a pillow that keeps your head and neck in line. So if you're laying on your side, you want a pillow that's thick enough to not have your head rocking side to side all the same way. Now, I cannot sleep on my left side. If I do, I get a blazing headache. If I turn my head to the right, left side against the pillow. If I turn my head to the left, I don't get a headache. So this is part of my traumatic brain injury. And it took me a long time to figure it out. Why some days I'd wake up with a headache, some days I wouldn't. So I took a diet diary. I wrote everything down. Of course, I don't drink alcohol. I drink a lot of water. Why am I getting a headache periodically and not other nights? And then one day I realized I have my head turned to the right. I got a headache. And that was it. So you kind of got to dig around a little bit and try to find out where the comfort is for you. Now, in my offices, if you're in the Atlanta area, we can actually test you on certain different types of pillows to see which one we think is going to be best for you. So that's another thing we can do, is do some testing on you to find out what it is. It's very simple testing. It's not like needles or anything like that. But we can see what pillow is going to be designed for you. Some people like firm pillows. Some people like soft pillows. Or thin pillows, thick pillows. So we always try to get the custom plan when it comes to your health care on everything, whether it's nutrition, whether it's a pillow, whether it's chiropractic care, whether it's getting your stomach adjusted because you have acid reflux, whether it's you need foot inserts, whether you need acoustic wave therapy to break up scar tissue, maybe you need a cold laser to stimulate stem cell growth. So we always try to get to the cause of your problem and customize a plan specifically for you. So if you have a health problem, whether it's neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, headaches, come see us. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We can get you in this week. Whenever you're listening to the show, it's this week because we always have appointments available in all our offices for new patients. So drjoe.com, let's do an evaluation. Let's find out if we can get to the cause of your problem and not just treat the symptoms. So drjoe.com, first visit normally $940. I've reduced that for my listeners to $299. Exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on a follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. I don't know how to make it any easier for you, folks. They only might make it easier if I go to your house, which I'm not going to do. But we can go ahead and get that set up as quickly as possible. Stop suffering needlessly. So many of you are suffering every single day. Maybe it's headaches, maybe it's sciatica, maybe it's shoulder pain, maybe it's mid-back pain, low back pain, and you just don't know what else to do. And many of you have tried other forms of treatment. It didn't work. Well, that's because they were trying to treat the symptoms in many cases, not getting to the cause. So drjoe.com. We accept people with all insurances. It depends what your coverage is. We don't know until we check your policy because every policy is different. There's a gazillion policies out there. A lot of our patients are cash patients because chiropractic is the most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. Why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you invest in your health? And in our office, we do a nutrition evaluation with everybody. I don't know anybody who does that. Because we want to get the chemistry and the physical lined up so that you get as well as you can as quickly as you can. So make an appointment right now, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. All right, so we're talking today about headaches and neck pain and what's causing it. And certain foods, we kind of covered it earlier, but I'm going to go through it again. Dairy products, soy milk. Even though I'm a fan of organic soy milk, it might be a trigger. Nightshades, these are things like tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, peppers. Gluten, it's a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. You might think, well, I don't eat wheat, I eat rye, I eat barley. Well, that has gluten in it too. alcohol, meat, sugar, processed foods, vegetable oils, caffeine, aged cheeses like blue cheeses. Certain fruits and nuts can even do it. So even though it's healthy for most people, it might be a trigger for you. That's why you have to go to my website, drjoe.com, go into patient forms, print up the diet diary. Print that up and write down everything you eat, everything you drink, all the medications you take, the time you go to sleep, how many bowel movements you have every day, all the information you can. Again, this is for you. I won't know you have it. It's strictly for you. And then we can see if we can figure it out. Constipation can cause headaches. I remember as a child, whenever you had something wrong, whether it was a headache or you had a cold or a flu, whatever it was, my grandmother said an enema. You got to do an enema. You got to clean out the bowels. And boy, it's right, okay? And the diet diary, by the way, is free. If you go to the website, drjoe.com, just print it up. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you anything. Print it up. Start writing down your specific issues when you have the pain. And chances are you're going to find it. Now, I'm happy to go over it with you if you want me to. If you can't figure it out yourself, I'm happy to do that for you as well. Alcohol, we talked about that. Foods with nitrates, hot dogs, sausages, bacon. Nitrates can trigger headaches, and nitrates, when they're heated, like hot dogs and bacon, they create something called nitrosamines, and nitrosamines are known carcinogens. So if you're eating cured meat or processed meats and it has nitrates in it, and you heat it, you got nitrosamines, those are known carcinogens. Don't do it. It's not worth it. That piece of bacon on your sandwich is not worth the risk. That hot dog is not worth the risk. So be careful. Now, you might even see uncured bacon, uncured hot dogs. You think to yourself, okay, well, it's not, they cure it with nitrates, so this is a better choice. So I'm going to do the uncured bacon because Dr. Joe doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, they usually use celery juice. If they don't use nitrates, use celery juice. Why celery juice? High in nitrates. But they can say it's uncured. If they use celery juice and it still has the same reaction when you heat it, it creates nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are carcinogenic. So don't fall for that advertising slick move there. I caught you, advertisers. Fermented foods, we talked about pickles, sauerkraut, relish. These things trigger headaches in me, and they might trigger headaches in you too. Monosodium glutamate. That's a big one too. Sounds like what you eat every day, doesn't it? Alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, alcohol, fermented foods, hot dogs, bacon. So I know it sounds like most people's diet. So keep the diet diary, write it down. If you want to do a nutrition consultation with me, I'm happy to do it for you. Just drjoe.com. When you call the office, tell them you want to just do a nutritional consultation with me. My staff will explain how that works. We can do it remotely. We can do it in person. Happy to do it for you. Okay? And they'll talk about how you do that and charges and insurance and everything else. So if you're just tuning in, I am Dr. Joe Esposito, and we are talking about causes of your headaches and your neck pain. And sometimes it's chemical. Most times it's physical. All the time, it's both. In my experience, it's always both. So other things, you might have blood vessels in your head and neck if you don't have good circulation. Now, I take a supplement called Dr. Joe's Nitric Oxide every day. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels and increases circulation to the brain, the heart, the lungs, the liver, the spleen, the sex organs. I love it because at my age, I don't produce nitric oxide like I used to. And so I'm giving my body the precursors, the building blocks to start producing its own nitric oxide again. I get a rush of energy, clear thought, brain fog is lifted, I sleep great, my muscles feel good. A lot of people take it before a workout because it gives them a burst of energy. Some people take it after a workout because it opens up the blood vessels and flushes out waste products, lactic acid that's built up in the muscles. And it's amazing. Now, the only time you don't want to take nitric oxide is if you have low blood pressure. If you have normal or high blood pressure, I'm fine with that. So nitric oxide may help as well. It's on the website, drjoe.com. Other reasons you might have headaches and neck pain, you don't have enough nutrients. Your brain needs fuel to run. So we talked earlier, way back when we first started, we talked about being hungry, but you can also get headaches if you don't have the right nutrients. Now, the minimum nutrients I recommend would be Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're two powders, they taste great, and the Essential Source is raw fruits and vegetables in a powder form. I can't make it easier if you get fruits and vegetables. Prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, complete multivitamin. That's the Essential Source. Super Greens, chlorella and spirulina and other ingredients to help detoxify the liver. Because you may be getting headaches because your liver is so toxic. And so chlorella and spirulina might work as well. So it's just something to consider. I can't imagine not taking Super Greens and Essential Source every day. And I always say, if you're not willing to do anything else for your health, not just headaches, but for your general health, if you're not willing to do anything else, at least take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. On the website, drjoe.com, there's a little store button. Click on that. It brings you right there. We'll ship to you that day or the next business day. If you're in the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb, come by and pick up your supplements. It'll save you shipping costs. And again, the post office is raising prices again. And we just passed it on to you. We don't make money on it. But if you want to save money, just stop by the office. And when you're at the office, have an appointment with us. Let's check your nervous system. Let's check your digestive system. Let's check your diet. Let's do nutrition evaluation. And let's get to the cause of a lot of your healthcare problems, not just treat the symptoms. We talked about tissues around the brain. The brain itself doesn't have any nerve fibers in it that feel pain. If I can get through my skull and through my dura, it's a coating around the brain, I can jump in there and stab my brain with a knife, and it wouldn't hurt. It's the tissues around the area, tight muscles in the neck, where the muscles attach into the skull, the suboccipital area. So many times we got to work on the muscles as well as the bones out of place to get everything relaxed. The scalp could be tight. You could have a reaction to chemicals. You could have a reaction to shampoos. I had a patient come in the other day, and her husband had high selenium. Now, selenium is good to a point. Theirs was toxic. Could not figure out where it was coming from. I said, do you use dandruff shampoo? No, we don't. I went nuts. I was calling other doctors, researchers. I said, where did you get selenium from? You'd have to eat pounds and pounds of beef liver to have that kind of level of selenium every day. They said, you're sure they're not using dandruff shampoo? I said, no. They said no. So sure enough, after about 3 or 4 visits and me taking a lot of time and energy, they gave me the brand name of the shampoo that they use, and it's a dandruff shampoo. So that's what they had selenium toxicity from that. So grinding your teeth. If you grind your teeth at night, that can lead to headaches and TMJ, temporomandibular pain, as well. So you can get a bite guard in a drugstore and do that. Now, if you're grinding your teeth, a bite guard will help, but I have to ask the question I ask on every case. Why are you doing this? Why are you grinding your teeth? Is it stress? Is it a misalignment? When you sleep, you go into something called sleep paralysis. Your whole body is paralyzed, so you don't act out your dreams. The one muscle that isn't in sleep paralysis is your your masseter and your temporomandibular muscles. And so that's why you can grind your teeth. You have control over it still. So sometimes we have to adjust the TMJ. Sometimes we got to do massage or a cold laser on the muscles in the jaw itself. And we want to find out why you're so stressed out. Is it chemical? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Is it a digestive issue? Is it your diet? You're eating the wrong foods. You're eating too late at night. You're not eating enough. We always want to find out why you're having these problems. If you're tired, of course, you can get a headache too. If you're dehydrated, when you pee, your pee should be clear and it shouldn't have a smell to it. So if you pee in a clear glass and look at the light, it should have maybe a few things floating around, but not a lot. And it should have no odor to it at all. If you eat asparagus, it might have an odor. If your urine is yellow, it might means that you took B vitamins, Dr. Joe's B vitamin complex, which I take every day because it's very important for my nervous system and yours too. But other than that, after 1 or 2 urinations after your supplement, it should be clear. If it's thick, if it's cloudy, you might just be dehydrated. Something as simple as just not getting enough water. And that many times can be triggering those headaches. So once again, if you want to set up a consultation with me, folks, I would love to be your doctor. I would love the opportunity to sit down with you, check the nervous system, check the digestive system, check your diet, see if there's pinched nerves. And my team of doctors and I, my opinion, I feel that I work with some of the finest doctors in the world. And the reason I say that is they're my doctors. They take care of me. So I trust them taking care of me and my family. I trust them taking care of you and your family. So if you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com. We can get you in right away. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb in the Atlanta area. Now, if you're not in the Atlanta area, we can always do a virtual consultation. I'm happy to do that for you as well. And we have you fill out some nutrition forms, and then we go over it together. It's a very easy process, but very, very effective. Now, if you have confusion, fainting, high fever, numbness, trouble seeing, trouble speaking, trouble walking, nausea, vomiting, get to the emergency room right away. Those are not chiropractic cases or nutrition cases. Those are medical emergencies. Again, confusion, fainting, anger, not knowing who you are, not being able to speak, bam, get to the emergency room. All right, folks, almost out of time. drjoe.com. Follow me on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. We post every single day. If you're a podcast junkie, go to your podcast service and type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. But any questions you have, you can send them through my website, drjoe.com. Folks, thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. All right. What do you have? What do you have?
Can I do anything for the bags underneath my eyes?
Yes. Let me make my notes here. Okay. Yes, bags under the eyes is inflammatory reaction, many times related to the adrenal glands. So if you're under chemical, physical, or emotional stress, the adrenal glands may not just be producing enough prostaglandins, which are anti-inflammatories, to bring down that inflammation. So Dr. Joe's Adrenal Support, Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, Dr. Joe's Nitric Oxide. That's where I would start. Now, you can put creams like coconut oil, castor oil. Make sure it's organic castor oil. Don't get it in your eye, but just underneath your eye. And it may take a few weeks, and that may help the bags as well. But it's an inflammatory process. It's a warning sign. It's telling you something's wrong. So, what else?
Can you recommend something for the inflammation in my knees and shoulder?
Chiropractic care first to put the bones back in place. But we have a machine called an acoustic wave therapy machine. I should have talked about it on the show. Strongly advise you consider acoustic wave therapy for the shoulder and the knees. We get great results, in most cases, not all, breaking up scar tissue, stimulating stem cell production in that area, increasing circulation. So you might want to come, you do want to come see us for that. And I also want to check the nerve supply to the shoulders and the knees, because that could be an issue too. Check the nerve supply, acoustic wave, shock wave therapy, it's called sometimes, on that area. And then we'll do a nutrition evaluation with you to find out, are you eating inflammatory foods? Alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener. So supplement-wise, Super Green, Essential Source, Nitric Oxide, and turmeric. Turmeric is a wonderful anti-inflammatory, and that's on the website, drjoe.com. When you come to see us, we'll go over all that with you. What else?
That's all.
That's it? Oh my gosh, those were quickies. All right, guys, thanks so much. I do appreciate you. Follow me on all social media platforms at Dr. Joe Esposito. See you next time.